Shields up, Iron Breakers. As you can probably tell, today's video is going to be a little bit different than what you've grown accustomed to here on the channel. I just wanted to have a bit of a conversation with you guys. I'm not exactly sure why I decided to have this conversation outside, especially because today is particularly windy. The hat has almost flown off of my head quite a few times already, but still, hopefully it'll be an enjoyable conversation. I have a couple of topics here that I would like to get through. This is not going to be something that is straight to the point by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to get a little bit rambly. So if that's not your type of video, that's all good. There will still be some content to the channel. I'm probably going to be working on a couple of podcasts that I will be releasing throughout the holiday period for your enjoyment. And speaking of the holidays, I'd like to get us started as the train just goes right behind me. I would like to get us started by wishing you all happy holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. I hope that you have an amazing new year. All of the usual stuff. Hopefully you get to spend some time with family. If you can't, then, hopefully I can keep you company. Like I said, I'm trying to see if I can work out a couple of podcasts. This is being recorded well in advance. Here comes the wind again. I think it's just like, doing these kinds of videos, especially on the outside, is something that I've kind of wanted to do more, and maybe we'll see more of these in the channel next year. We'll see if that is the case or not. Now, the very first topic on the agenda is I would like to thank each and every one of you that have been watching my content throughout 2023. It has been an absolutely amazing year, a year that has also been extremely busy. We'll get more into that as we move throughout the video, but I just wanted to really acknowledge the outstanding amount of support that I've received from you guys, my community. And when I say support, obviously I'm talking about memberships, super chats, donations, all of this stuff, but also just showing up to the streams, showing up to watch the content, the comments, the likes, all of that stuff. I appreciate each and every one of you for just continuously still watching my content. I would have not expected my content creation stint to last for as long as it did, even though in my head I'm like, bro, I'm gonna do this till the day I die. I'm gonna be like 80 years old on a wheelchair, and I'm just still gonna be like, oh, give me my microphone, I need to go make some content, I gotta talk about Monster Hunter 73. Oh man, people can't wait to see this new Gunlance build I've been working on. That's going to be me. Though, to be honest, I know that a lot of content creators, they reach a point where they're like, okay, I want to exit the content creation game. Not me. I love doing it. I don't see myself stop unless, you get to a point where it's like, hey, you got to stop this and you got to actually get a job because this is not profitable enough to sustain your family or anything. We're nowhere close to that. At least not with the results that we've had in 2023. It's perfectly fine for me to keep going. I'm not going to be rich anytime soon, but I'm not going to be living in the streets anytime soon either, so it's all good. Now, like I did say, this has been a very busy year. As a matter of fact, 2023, I say this a lot, it's been one of the best years in gaming. In my opinion, if there haven't been at least 3 games that came out this year that you really, really enjoyed, I kind of feel like maybe you've just grown out of gaming or something like that. I definitely haven't. I'm 41 years old and I'm still completely addicted to gaming and talking about video games and doing all of the same stuff that I've been doing. But 2023, on top of being an amazing year for gaming, was also an extremely busy year for me because a lot of games that came out were actually games that I'm interested in covering on the channel and whatnot, and that required a tremendous amount of effort and juggling schedules between being able to cover games, between being able to spend time with family and all of that stuff. It has definitely taken a bit of a toll to a point where I still feel exhausted right now, even though things have significantly slowed down. I still feel very much exhausted. But there's also some stuff that happened behind the scenes that you guys are not aware of. As a matter of fact, that a lot of people in my life are not aware of. These are not health problems or anything like that. As far as I'm aware, my health is doing okay, other than the fact that I'm still sleep deprived all the goddamn time for whatever reason. But no, there were some very serious things that happened to me this year. Some seriously deep stuff that I've had to tackle with. And these are not things that I'm going to get into in detail because I it's very it's very personal, and it's just not something that I really want to have out there. I wouldn't say that these problems have been completely solved, but we shall see how they pan out. But this is just something that I wanted you guys to be aware, just in case sometimes throughout this year it might have seemed like, maybe Rurikhan's a little bit different during this certain period. Maybe there's some, yeah, there was some stuff happening, and like I said, I'm not going to talk about it because, I don't have to, and it's not something that is going to super impact anything that happens here on the channel or anything like that. It's not something that has demotivated me from content creation or anything like that. It's just, sometimes people go through some stuff, and in this case, I don't want that stuff aired out in public. It is what it is. I'm not, by the way, I know that sometimes people start talking about this stuff, and guys and everybody starts speculating, is it a divorce? There's something wrong with it. You're completely way off. If that's what you're thinking, none of that. It is just, again, it's something that it basically caused me to question a lot of things, like some of the things that I would even consider foundational pillars of who I am. And yeah, it was weird. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more about that. One of the things that I did want to talk about is that this next year, I'm going to be slowing things down. I have to. And this is one of those things that you can kind of look at this, is that like a New Year's resolution? And the thing is, no, it's not a New Year's resolution. This is something that I've thought about for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions because I feel like if you feel the need to wait until it's New Year to then take action, usually it's like whenever I feel that I need to take action on something, I just take action on something. Like, for instance, I started working out last year, and I didn't do it as like a New Year's resolution. I started I think it was either October, November, something like that. It was just like, hey, I need to work out. Trains going by all the time, baby. I need to work out. This lifestyle that I'm in is extremely unhealthy, and I just started working out. I don't really wait until the end of the year to make these big decisions. It's more so, this just feels like a good time to have the conversation. I have to slow down. And one of the reasons why I need to slow down is my kids are requiring more and more attention. I know I talk a lot about this, but when your kids are younger, they don't require as much attention, so to speak. I mean, sure, they require attention. They need you need to switch their diapers. You need to, make sure that they're well fed. You need to make sure of all of these things. And it's interesting because as a father, initially I thought, as they get older, they're going to require less attention. Turns out that there's actually a period wherein it's completely the opposite. As they get older, they require even more attention. And, I haven't been neglecting them by any stretch. Every single event that they have at school, I go to. I've been taking my kid to do jiu-jitsu, as you guys may be aware. Like I've told you guys, like my older son, he has a bit of an anger management problem, almost. And so that's kind of like one of the ways that I'm dealing with it. I'm like, hey, let's see if, you go to jiu-jitsu. Hopefully you'll spend some of that energy and maybe you won't be as angry. And I also think it's a good discipline thing to do. But basically that's one of the reasons I'm slowing down. I need to pay more attention to my kids, but not just my kids. I also need to start paying more attention to my family because, my parents are getting older as well. And so I need to basically start adjusting my schedule. I can't just be like, every new game that comes out, I'm going to cover it 100%, like all of the things, and, have like 50 streams around every single thing. I'm one person, and I do not want to change things in a way where, let me bring in more people, because I feel like that dilutes everything. I would like to have one more person to work with me, but the amount of money that we make from ad revenue and all of that stuff is it's a little bit too prohibitive to have another person and pay them a fair wage. So yeah, I can make this work as a one-man operation. Two-man operation, I would be very much stretching things. So I don't know. I don't know how things are going to pan out in 2024, but just this is something that I wanted you guys to be aware of, because like I said, pay more attention to my kids, pay more attention to my family. And on top of it, there's one more reason. I know that we all joke a lot about how, I'm getting old. Ooh, old man, like all of these memes and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say that 41 years old is giga old or anything like that. Like, oh man, you're done. You're dunzo garbanzo. It's all over. Like, I don't think like that, but I do think that health-wise, streaming the amount of hours that I have a tendency to stream is not necessarily good, particularly when I also suffer from sleep deprivation and anxiety. And there have been streams where the anxiety has kicked in certain situations. I find it interesting because usually when it happens is like when I'm very close to finishing a game, because like you get into that point due to the fact that I have a limited amount of time and then I have to go home and hang out with my kids and do all this stuff. When you get to that point when you're about to finish the game and you don't know exactly how much more of the game there is, and at the same time it's also coming close to you needing to go home, it's an extremely frustrating moment, because I'm like, well, if I stop now and I start tomorrow, I'll have like a 10-minute stream. How does that make sense? I need to keep pushing. But then somehow the game finds a way to extend itself further, and that triggers the crap out of like anxiety, because that you just start going, but you got to go home, but you got to finish this, but you got to go home, but you got to finish this. I feel like that is one of the situations where I usually end up with when I start getting like chest pains as well. Like, for instance, a good example this year would have been the last boss of Final Fantasy 16. If you guys actually go back and watch that footage, I haven't watched it in a while, but just like remembering about it, I remember that it was exactly that situation where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm about to finish the game, but then at the same time, I need to get home. But if I go home now and I don't finish this, then the next stream that I do is going to be like a 10-minute stream of me just killing this thing and being done with it. And if you pay attention during those moments when I'm fighting the last boss, you might even see me go like with my hand like towards my chest, rubbing it and whatnot. That's pretty much anxiety, panic attack, that type of stuff. Yeah, it happens. I try to disguise it as best as I can, but like if you actually go back and watch some stuff, you'll find little things like that peppered throughout some of those streams, which is again one of the reasons why I need to slow down a little bit. Now, like I said, I'm by no means stopping. I'm going to continue to create content. I'm going to have to see how I can adapt to things based on that. But one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because I always want to be transparent. I want you to know what you can expect from me. And, there's a lot of people that are supporting with memberships and all that. And I want to make you perfectly comfortable at any point in time to just go like, hey, Rurikhan's not making as much content as he used to. Maybe I should, go support, pull my support and put support towards another creator who's providing me with more entertainment. I completely understand. I will never blame you. I will never judge you. Never think about it like that. I just hope that you still come around and watch my stuff. That's pretty much the way that I look at it, okay? I want to make everybody perfectly comfortable, because I've even seen sometimes people, they go and they're like, oh, I can't afford to support you this month, or there's this thing, or there's that thing, and people feel guilty. Never feel guilty about something like that. I do not take any of this for granted. Like I say, I run this like everything could end tomorrow. That's the way that I run this. That's the way that I'll continue to run this. And, it is what it is. I just want you guys to be aware. I want you guys to be informed and make the decisions that you feel that you need to. And it's all good with me, okay? Now, this next one, I think there's going to be quite a few of you that might even become a little bit disappointed in what I'm about to say. This is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time. There was not like one individual situation that happened, even though I have like 3 different examples. I've talked about this on Rurikhan Unleashed, but I figured I should also talk about it here. I will no longer be fighting microtransactions. What do I mean by this? When I find something that I consider to be pay to win, or that I consider, like, for instance, whenever a game has 3 days early access or 5 days early access, if you purchase the deluxe edition and all of these things, I'm done with that fight. I have lost that fight. I feel like those of you that feel the same way that I do, I'm very sorry to say we have lost that fight. One of the reasons why I've fought so fervently and continued throughout this year, whenever there is something that I disagree with and I talk about it, and I really put myself out there and I make sure, listen, I don't agree with this. This is bullshit. This is pay to win, blah 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 blah, and I make a big stink over on Twitter, and and I make videos about stuff, consumer advocacy, all of that stuff, and we lost. I know that it's a little bit of a defeatist attitude, but that's just the way that I feel. Now look, I've fought stuff like this. Oh damn. This is like the cold, dry weather messes with my throat a little bit. I'm actually not sick or anything like that. But as I was saying, I fought this tooth and nail because I've always been somewhat inspired by content creators that came before me or were more successful before me, speaking out against it, and I have deep respect for them. Like, someone that always comes to mind when I address issues like this is Total Biscuit. He was definitely an inspiring figure for me whenever it came to me doing commentary and creating content and all of that stuff. And it's just one of those situations where you think about all of these values and the things that you value and whatnot, and you always feel like you're, at least I personally always felt like I kind of feel like this is my duty in a lot of ways as somebody who creates content around video games, that I should be fighting to make video games better. And throughout 2023, and not just 2023, I don't even remember if the Lost Code Weapons wasn't this year, right? Lost Code Weapons was last year, I think. But throughout the last couple of years, I've noticed that basically, I think maybe even the majority of the community, they want this. Boosts, early accesses, pay to win features in games. They want it. And who the hell am I to continuously fight against it? Like, I'm done. In a lot of ways, I was hoping that with me doing this as, a bit of an older content creator, someone who's been around the platform for 15 plus years at this point, give or take. I don't even know how many years. It's actually insane. But yeah, at least 15 plus years in this platform and talking about issues like that. I was hoping that eventually younger content creators would show up, and younger content creators would take up the mantle and would start fighting it as well. What I've noticed is the exact opposite. The younger content creators, for whatever reason, whenever they talk about these subjects, they're talking about how this is fine, how this is a good thing, and it just feels like, I'm screaming into the void a lot of times. Like, 3 situations that I can bring up. Like I said, I have 3 examples. One of those would be Lost Code Weapons, right? That when I spoke out against Lost Code Weapons and Monster Hunter Rise, specifically the reasoning behind it is not because it's pay to win or anything like that. It was because those weapons have a higher animation budget than other weapons in the game, and I don't think that that's a fair thing to charge for. But I've made my position known. I've even said it immediately to Capcom's community manager. I've said how I felt about all this stuff instantly, respectfully and all of that. But there was a large section of the community that came back to it going like, oh, I'm definitely buying it now. It's like, well, what the fuck kind of good am I doing if I'm even just provoking people to go forward and buy it now? People even said, I'm buying it twice just because you made this video. I was like, oh, okay. You guys have no idea the amount of comments that I received on that. But that was one thing. The other thing was, for instance, how the early access in Diablo 4 and how, in my opinion, that type of early access is fundamentally pay to win, incredibly anti-consumer, and basically I very much made it clear how I felt about it. And people were like, I'm going to buy 2 copies now. And I was like, well, what the fuck? What the hell am I doing? I've gotten a tremendous amount of backlash over that Diablo 4 stuff, to the point where even when Blizzard implemented a dark pattern into the game, we talked about that as well. Again, tremendous amounts of backlash for that. More recently, I spoke out against the World of Warcraft boost, and that was like really kind of the tipping point. I was like, oh, okay. I just like got crapped on by, I don't know, felt like 80% of the content creator community for that game, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess, what am I doing? Why am I even bothering? There's other content that I could be doing. Like, a lot of people think I do this type of stuff for views. The last thing that I like engaging in is like negative content. I take no pleasure from it. So, fine, whatever, lost the battle. I'm not going to be dealing with microtransactions anymore. It's not my problem. From now on, a game comes out 5 days early or whatever, through a pre-order or a deluxe edition or a special edition. Guess what? Streams and content, if it's a game that I'm interested in, streams and content starts 5 days early. That's all I'll say about it, and I am done. I'm not fighting that stuff anymore. And again, I understand there's a lot of people that are going to be disappointed, but I also need you to understand that the amount of vitriol that gets hurled your way whenever that shit happens, it really just makes you question, why am I even doing this? And very few people actually rise up to fight against it. So it's like, I always thought that we were the majority, the ones who, the ones that actually want proper gaming experiences without any of this pay-to-win stuff or whatever. We're not anymore. We're dinosaurs. So the only thing left for us to do is, hey, enjoy the remaining video games that we have until everything becomes pay to win or whatever, to a degree that it is no longer acceptable to us. Enjoy whatever we have, and then whenever all that stuff is gone, it's over. That's the way I look at it. I know it's a little bit pessimistic. I don't mean it to be. It's just the way that it is. I'm sorry if some of you guys are disappointed with that. Anyway, another topic is naturally podcasts. Those are going to be still going on. I know that I haven't been able to be as, how should I put it, consistent with those as I would like. I've already explained the reasonings why. It is because usually whenever I invite somebody for Conscast, I have, at the beginning of the week or something, I'll have like a plan. Oh, I want to have this person. I want to have that person. I want to have this other person. So I always want whoever I invite on the show to know that, like, you were my first choice for this episode. There's never a situation, and this is something that, oh man, there's like 2 trains coming on now. Yeah, boy. Damn, and this one's coming slow. But like I was saying, like, any guest that you've ever seen on Conscast, or if you happen to be one of those guests watching this, anyone that's ever been on Conscast, I want you to know you were the only person that I invited for that week. That's kind of the way that I look at it. I never look at the beginning of a week and I go like, okay, so I'm going to invite this person. If they say no, I'm going to invite this other person. That always feels wrong. It just feels wrong, and it is something that in my mind I can't like have this thing that I'm thinking about, oh, I have somebody who's a backup. Like, I have someone who's a second choice. I have someone who's going to get sloppy seconds on the guest seat. It doesn't happen. Which is why sometimes, you notice, oh, this week there was no Conscast. Guess what? It means whoever I invited said no. That's just the way that it goes. I always look at it like that because I never want any guest to feel like they were the second choice. Like, no, if I've invited you to Conscast and you said no, know that week there was no Conscast because I invited you. Well, sometimes I have weeks where I want to talk to 2 people, but usually, I have like 1 person for the Conscast, unless there's like multiple topics that I want to cover with more people. But like I said, that's one of the reasons why the consistency is always not as perfect as I would like it to be. As for Third Fleet Podcast, hey, Gaijin's over there in Final Fantasy XIV land. There's not much I can do about that. I bring Gaijin in whenever there's interesting stuff to talk about and things that he is interested in discussing. I'm not gonna go harass Gaijin to come talk to me and force topics onto him because it just doesn't make sense. Me and Gaijin keep up outside of the podcast, though. It's just a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we just don't feel it's that relevant. Like we talk about, oh, I'm an old man, like I have rheumatoid, I have this health problem, I have that health problem. It's like, you don't want to have like two old men just talking about all of their health issues. Or talking about how they're raising their kids or stuff like that, At least I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense for a podcast. But yeah, so Third Fleet and Conscast will continue into 2024 as often as I can possibly have them. And there might even be a little bit of a frozen sodium thrown here and there because I'm kind of addicted to World of Warcraft again. It's really bad. You shouldn't do that. Don't do it. It's not worth it. But another thing that I also need to do a little bit more in 2024 is I'm going to have to play the algorithm more. I hate doing it. I'm not a fan. I've been doing it a little bit in 2023 with some of the titles in the videos. Like one title that I particularly did not like was the title that I did for the Baldur's Gate 3 video where I said I loved Baldur's Gate 3 until I didn't. I really didn't like that title, but I know that from an SEO perspective, from an attention-grabbing perspective, from all of that stuff, it makes sense because of the topic that was being discussed. But it's one of those things I do need to do it because I'm not going to be able to pump out as much content as I wanted to. Like I said, I'm slowing down, so I got to make sure that the few videos that I do make, I have to play the algorithm a little bit with those, and I don't like doing it. And by the way, sometimes people like to call out my thumbnails and all of that stuff, and this is one of those situations where I just go like, listen, I probably hate it even more than you do. If you're someone who's criticized my thumbnails, I like it even less than you do. But unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that I can do about that. Jesus Christ, the wind is really picking up. It's freaking insane. Like my hat's about to fly off. Stop. Okay, I guess this is the wind telling me, hey, listen, wrap it up. This is Jeff Keighley coming in from the USA. He's got like a big billboard over there that says, wrap it up, Rurikhan. Your speech has gone long enough. So I figured I'd just talk about, considering that, like I said, we're slowing down. The main games that I have planned from the ones that have been announced, the main games that I plan on covering in 2024. These are like the biggest ones that I want to really invest time into. There's going to be a very small list, even though there's a ton of other games that I want to talk about, and we will get into those as well. But this is a very small list. So the first one's Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I want to play and I want to cover the crap out of that game. I understand that a lot of people are still probably hesitant, or maybe you don't even know what Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is. I genuinely believe it's going to be one of the bigger releases of 2024. We'll see if I'm right. Maybe I'm completely wrong. You never know. But I've been waiting for this game for quite a few years now. So if you guys actually look Grand Blue Fantasy Relink in the channel, you'll find quite a lot of videos on that topic. So I'm hoping that it is going to be good. I think it'll be a very interesting game. We'll see if it pans out or not. The other one is obviously Dragon's Dogma 2. I mean, for how many years have we been waiting, Arisen? How long? It's been too long, dude. It's been like over 10 years of us just waiting and waiting and waiting for the sequel to Dragon's Dogma. One of the most underrated games of all times. Okay? Naturally, Elden Ring DLC. If Elden Ring DLC gets released next year, we're definitely going to be checking that out. Light No Fire. I know that for a lot of people are going to be like, no, Light No Fire? Really? Yes. Yes, really. I love No Man's Sky. I have faith in what the Hello Games team can deliver. I'm going to be making more content talking about that game in the channel as well. And when that game comes out, I will most definitely be talking and covering it. And the other one's Path of Exile 2. I missed out on Path of Exile. I feel like I didn't really play Path of Exile nearly enough. But I want to jump into Path of Exile 2. We'll see if it pans out, if it's something that I'm interested in. But I want that to be one of the big games that I cover next year. And that's the list. That's like my priority list, the titles that I'm the most interested in. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring DLC, Light No Fire, and Path of Exile 2. Now, naturally, we do have a second channel, and I have been indulging myself in some more MMORPG content. And for that, we have Dawn Trail, which is the next expansion of Final Fantasy XIV. That's probably going to be Rurikhan Unleashed content, though. I might talk about it briefly in this channel. And people are going to hate me for this. The War Within. I mean, look, it's a Dwarven-themed expansion where I get to play with my favorite World of Warcraft character, Brand Bronzebeard. I have to do it. I have to go back and I have to check it out, and we'll see how that pans out. But that will definitely just be Unleashed content. And then, because I know that there's a lot of other games that have been announced in 2024. So these are games that I will also be playing and will also probably be checking out. But if they, at any point in time, conflict with the other games at the top of the list, these games will take the back seat, basically, is what I'm getting at. So you have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I plan on playing that fully. I don't know how much more content I'll do beyond a playthrough. Helldivers 2, I would love to check that out, but it comes out way too close to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, so I'm not sure how I'll be able to squeeze that in. Rise of Ronin, that one drops right on top of Dragon's Dogma 2, so it's going to be sitting in the backlog for a good long while. Black Myth Wukong, we should be able to play that. Shouldn't really be too much of a problem, but again, that's going to be like a playthrough, and I don't know how much more content I'll do about that. Senua's, I actually don't know is it Senua's Saga? Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, that'll be another one. Avowed, I really want to check out Avowed. Exodus, which is that game that is almost like Mass Effect, the one that was presented by Matthew McConaughey at the Game Awards. And No Rest for the Wicked. And these are kind of like the other games that I'm going to be checking out. Jesus Christ, dude. This wind's taking my hat away. But anyways, I think that's our call to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz. Enjoy your holidays, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thank you very much for an amazing 2023, for all the support, all the memes, all the things. Tip of the hat to each and every one of you. Peace out.